Hey there, back in the studio today to show you a cool little tip using Mainstage. If you haven't downloaded and started using Mainstage either in your live performance or at your church, you're really missing out. It's the best $30 you can ever spend. And of course, you have to have a Mac to use it. But if you are on a Mac, there's no reason why not to get it. I've been diving into it for years, just continuing to find really, really cool things to enhance your live performance. And so what I'm going to show you today was kind of inspired on actually something I saw in a worship service where a guy was doing some really cool vocal effects, and I was like, oh man, how can I accomplish that? So I found a really cool thing, and there's a plugin out there put out by Isotope, which if you've got the money, it's super cool. It's called Vocal Synth, but it does some really cool things with the voice. But you know, I'm wondering, are these kind of tools maybe already built into the Logic Mainstage platform? And I found a really cool hidden plugin that is going to give us some really cool stuff. So everything that we're doing, you can do with Mainstage. There's no special plugins here. And I'm using this microphone to get this effect. I purchased this off of eBay, and what I was specifically looking for, because I was thinking about using this in a live setting, is this is a unidirectional head mic. It has no headphones, so if I'm using in-ears or whatever, I would be able to just use this in conjunction with that pretty well, and I would be able to take it on, put it on, and take it off depending on whenever I wanted to use it. So this is just a standard microphone, pretty cheap on eBay. I did have to get an adapter for it because I'm plugging it directly into my MacBook using the TRRS connector, which is the built-in microphone connector. But just like your iPhone or your iPad or your MacBook computer, it uses the special jack, which is the tip ring sleeve. So it's got 3 rings on it. You can't just plug in a standard microphone into it unless you get this little splitter here. I'll take it out so you can see it. This is the microphone side. Any standard microphone, either balanced or unbalanced, can fit in here. And then that's where my headphones are going so that I can monitor what I'm hearing. And then this is the TRRS connector. Goes into the headphone adapter on the MacBook. And then I'm just using Mainstage to create this. So we're going to actually build this sound from scratch, and you'll see how cool this is. We're basically going to create a digital vocal synth kind of sound, and you can figure out how you want to use it in your live performances, maybe for your youth group or maybe even on a weekend if your church is progressive enough. But anyway, without further ado, let's go over to the Logic view, or actually this is Mainstage, and we're going to go ahead and start. I've got an empty patch here, and so what I'm going to do to start is create a new channel strip, and over here we're going to set this as an audio. I'm going to use input 1 and create that. So now I'm getting audio off of the microphone, the head mic. Another thing to keep in mind, if you go into your audio MIDI application, which is in your utilities folder, what I did is I just set the volume of the head mic all the way to the left. I didn't want I didn't want a whole lot of audio signal, and the main reason for that is because I don't want a whole lot of outside bleed. I haven't used this in a live setting yet, but I wanted to have that microphone as not sensitive as possible because it's right up on my mouth, and also because this is a unidirectional mic, you're going to have to, if you get one of these on eBay, and they're not very expensive, you want it as close to the mouth. Again, the closer it is to the mouth, the lower you can set the gain and the less background noise. And if I turn it around, you can hear it actually is unidirectional. Only when it's directly pointed at the mouth do we get the good signal. Okay, so now we've got that, and as you can hear, we have signal. As always with Mainstage, if you have an audio input, you're going to want to make sure that you're monitoring through headphones, because if you put this through speakers, you could get really bad feedback. But I'm monitoring on headphones, so we're pretty good. So I've got signal, I can hear it. The next thing I want to do is go under here to my input, and I want to under my Dynamics tab, I want to choose a noise gate, because again, I want to limit as much background audio as possible. And normally you would be very conservative with this, but I'm going to be very, very liberal with it. I obviously don't want it to cut off my signal voice, but I do want it to be pretty pretty aggressive on that. I only want it to pick up when I'm making sound. So probably somewhere right there. And I'm going to put the hold right about there, and I'm going to put a release right about there. And any kind of look ahead that we're going to be using either with the limiter, we're going to set that all the way to the left. What we're going to be doing is going to create some latency. For how we're using it, it's no big deal, but just to be in mind, anything that's got a look ahead like the limiter that I'm going to use, I'm going to put all that to the left because I want to limit latency as much as possible. Okay, so we've got the noise gate in. The next thing I want to do is go ahead and do some little bit of EQ on this. I'm going to do a low pass. Again, I want to filter out any frequency that is not needed, and I'll probably filter it to right about there. I'll do a slight dip here, and with the shelf, we'll bring up the shelf a little bit and put a high pass, or sorry, a low pass up here. All right, perfect. Okay, EQ's good. Next thing I want to do is put some compression on it. All right, and again, I'm going to do some pretty aggressive progression. I think for vocals, I think OptiCompressor is really good. I'm going to set the ratio to about 4:1, which is pretty standard. And you could go higher if you want, depending on what you're wanting to do. And that brings up the gain a little bit. I still am not seeing a lot of gain increase. There we go. There we go. There we go. I think I do need to set that noise gate back a little bit. Let me go back and fix that noise gate a little. And we'll put that back here a little bit. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. And the compressor sounds pretty good. We're getting some good signal. I might need to pull this back even more because I actually want it to see it working. Usually you would see that knob going back and forth, but check. That's strange. Usually you would see the level, but no matter. I can hear it working. Okay, so here's where the fun begins. We're actually going to now use a plugin that's been in the Logic Mainstage world for a while, but it's seldomly used. And it's called the pitch correction plugin. And we're going to go into there. If we go to the pitch folder, we're going to select pitch correction. Here is where the fun begins because now it's going to be pitch correcting my voice. And for the effect that we're wanting to do, I want to bring this all the way down. And since we are bringing this all the way down, basically that's going to create that kind of T-Pain effect where it's going to put everything I do in tune. And by default, it works off the chromatic scale, which it's okay, but you're going to get the best result when you set it to the scale that you're playing in. So I'm going to set it to a major scale of C, which means that it's not going to be playing any of the black notes, so it's going to be moving all of my notes to the C scale, just like that. Right? And because this is all the way down, it's going to be locking it to the nearest pitch. So it's kind of giving a synthetic effect to the voice, which is going to be really cool. Now that that's set, we're going to leave that, and we're going to apply a few more effects just to get some really cool stuff going. The next thing we're going to do is go into, again, a native plugin inside of Mainstage and Logic under Reverb. We're going to go to Space Designer. Space Designer is basically a convolution reverb. And it has a lot of standard reverbs like the one you're hearing now. But there's this whole section of really cool warped effects that are going to do some really cool thing to the voices. So I'm going to go to Moving Spaces. And then there's one here that we're going to use called Evolving Circles. All right, so there we have this kind of sound. Right? And the wet is turned up pretty hot, and the dry is turned up pretty hot, but you can do it to taste. I want to have it pretty wet because I want it. And I can even turn the natural voice down, just have the effect. But I kind of want to have both. I kind of like the way it's sounding. Okay, and we'll demonstrate this here in a little bit.
Finally, I want to go under Dynamics, go to the limiter, and again, turn that look ahead down, bring up the limiter so that we get the effect very pronounced without having to make a lot of sound. Okay, so I'm just going to demonstrate what this effect does. It seems to work the best when you just kind of hit light, airy voices, like, and even if I just kind of do like this, it's kind of cool, kind of a cool effect.
So anyway, a pretty cool effect. And really easy, and you can play with it. It's, there's all kinds of things you can do. That's just one of the presets in Space Designer that you can use. But a really cool thing that was not that hard to set up, and that you could use in your live performances and impress everybody in the room. Like, how are they doing that? Super cool stuff. Again, play around with Mainstage. There's a whole lot in there to get into. We'll see you next time, and hope this was helpful.